Welcome, everyone. I am Brian Fannin, staff actuary for the Casualty Actuarial Society with a focus on research. And I am going to present a conversation which is a web exclusive for the Actuarial Review. With me is Michaël Bordeleau-Tassile, who is one of the winners of the 2022 Hacktuary competition. Michaël, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
For the benefit of our viewers, can you tell us sort of where you are geographically, professionally, or otherwise, a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, based in Montreal, Canada. I've been working in classic home and auto insurance, pricing, and more specifically in R&D over the last few years.
Very good. So you entered this competition, which had a fairly broad set of parameters in terms of what you could develop. You came up with something that we liked, but I think I'm curious, and other folks are curious. How did you come up with the idea for this app?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it was a very large scope. To be honest, I struggled a bit at first to get an idea of what to do, and it felt like I was caught in a mental catch-22 where it's difficult to come up with ideas when you don't know what data is available out there
Right.
because we had to use open data, right? And on the other hand, what data to look for when you don't know what to do. So just started browsing the web for open data for maybe a couple of weeks, and ultimately I just said, okay, well, since it had a focus on auto insurance, well, let's just focus on the whole relationship from a client with its vehicle. So at first you have to buy the vehicle, so what to buy, what to purchase, and then you have to insure it, and then you have to drive it. So I had a large goal to tackle every portion of the relationship.
One of the things that's fascinating about how you approached this is you started from a place that feels, at least to this actuary's experience, a little bit non-traditional. You looked at the decision to purchase a vehicle. Obviously, this is something in the minds of everyone who owns a car or would like to. But that is an emphasis that felt pretty fresh. Uh, Continuing with that idea, one of the goals for the project was to have an app that consumers, not necessarily actuaries, could use. So, how do you hope that a non-actuarial consumer would use the app?
Well, especially for the shopping part, I mean, we are bombarded with marketing, and maybe in the top of our minds we have one or two vehicles in mind when we go look for a brand new vehicle. And my goal was to just open your eyes for other options that are out there, and bring in some more information that are sometimes more difficult to find on its own, specifically the insurance costs. Who out there looks at the premium for their future car? I don't believe there's that many people that do this. So that would be my hope. Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. When looking for a car, and I'll be buying one, I think next year or the year after, we've got a car that's about at the end of its useful life. And what is in my brain is, okay, what does it cost? Fuel efficiency, some other things, but the cost of insurance, it would take me a while, even as an actuary,
Yeah.
to get to that place. So I'm very excited about the idea that this is introducing a new kind of important element for consumers to consider. Uh, Switching gears, pun unintended, for the actuaries who look at this app, what are you hoping that they will get out of an app like this?
Well, as you mentioned, it's more for the client, but there are some elements when we are doing a pricing algorithms where often more than ever, often we lack strong interactions in our typical GLM models.
Hmm.
And one of the features I'd love to test out, and if anyone here listens to this and want to test it out, I'd love to see some results. So here, my shopping tool, there's a affinity score behind this, where a specific vehicle is more meant for you, this type of client. So bringing this affinity score in a pricing algorithm, how would it perform? I'd be very curious about this.
Okay, so a challenge has been put out for actuaries to consider this as a rating variable, possibly to include it in their pricing plans. I've got a question about some of the skills that you brought to bear to build this app, but what I think may be useful, if you can, could you share your screen and let folks see what this looks like, what we're talking about? While you're pulling that up, I'll remind folks that this is meant to be either a web-centric app, web-based rather app, or a mobile app. So here we have it. This is what it looks like. Anyone can go to that URL, and this app will appear. You're hovering over things, and we see that it's a very responsive design. Looks like the kind of interactive website that we'd find in a lot of consumer portals. So this isn't necessarily something that an actuary will develop when they're doing rate making or reserving or what have you. So I'm assuming that there are some skills that you needed to pick up on your own to do this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So behind this, yes, there are machine algorithm features, there are data cleaning, data processing, and so on, that all we're used to it.
Yes.
But as far as the building the website, I've been using Shiny, which is the tool, like the evolution of R for the web building and interactive stuff. So that was completely new to me. I've heard about it, but I've never touched it. So it was brand new.
This is your very first Shiny app?
Yeah, it is.
Wow, that is astonishing. Okay, my oh my.
Yeah, I've worked a lot and made a lot of trial and error, but I'm pretty proud of the result. Yeah, so Shiny, and while some tools are here that would not be used by actuaries, some features like data table, Plotly, tree maps, all those kinds of features are interchangeable with our work.
Okay. Very good. And so this is something that you've taken on in your spare time, kind of for fun. Now, did you know R prior to looking at Shiny?
Well, I've learned R in 2020. Just a little over 2 years ago.
Right.
I've never used it before, and what sparked my interest was looking at all my colleagues where they were doing very interesting stuff with R, and happened to have another competition similar to Kaggle, related to insurance. So it was at the early 2020, and I said it's the time to learn and jump in. So that started my whole journey.
Okay, terrific. So you have used something that was previously new to you. This is a technology that's been around for a while, but not as long as some of the other tools that actuaries are familiar with. Technology is changing constantly. Having gone through this process of embracing something new and creating this app, can you talk a little bit about some of the ways that actuaries can use technology to improve their work?
Yeah, there are plenty of ways you can do this. First of all, I'd say to automate stuff. I'm seeing a lot of actuaries still using Excel spreadsheets and so on, with a lot of manipulations. And I mean, the humans make errors, make mistakes, and it's normal. But automating stuff would help lower the biggest source of possible mistakes. So automation, and I mean, better use technology to better explain results. So interactive graphs that allows the user to set different threshold and see automatically the results would help a lot for actuaries to better explain the results.
Okay. And in your experience, and maybe from what you've heard from colleagues, even when we are eager to use a new technology, it's not always easy to just sit down at your computer and just have a go at it. Talk about some of the barriers that actuaries face in picking up the latest and greatest bit of technology and using it.
Well, the biggest barrier would say everything that's related to IT security. I mean, organization, they take data privacy very seriously, and they should. But sometimes it conflicts with the usage of new tools that are top of the line. So we are often met with dismissal, and the discussion I believe, should pivot where it should not be a dismissal, but an open dialogue where both parties work together towards a common goal. That's something that we should consider more.
That absolutely makes sense to me. I know that it's difficult in practice, but I think starting from a place where all of the constituencies agree that what they want is a technological process that is state of the art, that is operationally robust, that is data secure. We all want those things, and the question then becomes, how do we achieve that in given the constrained resources that we have. So I'm going to give you just a minute to, if you'd like, show us anything else about the app that looks kind of interesting and cool, and then I'm going to share my screen for a moment.
Sure. So for the shopping tool here, we had the basic. The customer would select this driver profile, and it would.
Hey, wait, can you? Sorry to interrupt. If you could you set that age to 51? I just had a birthday recently.
Sure.
Change the gender to male, and you're going to tell me what sort of car I should buy.
Well, are you living in a urban, suburban, regional?
Suburban.
Suburban.
51-year-old suburban male.
Yeah, and
not an SUV.
Not well at this point. To make it more easier, you would have to select a base body profile that you would hope for.
You know what? Let's get aspirational. Why don't you put me in a convertible? Okay.
And then so and you would have you like powerful cars.
For this example, let's say that I do. Let's have a bit of fun. Yeah.
And now here you have your top 5. You can go up to top 10, but in this case there are not enough suggestion here, and you would rank based on your priority. So are you mindful of your insurance costs or your consumption, or you want the most popular car out there?
Okay. Well, I'm an actuary, so I'm going to be someone who will approach risk sensibly. Give me some low insurance.
Low insurance. Yeah. All right. So it would be the Volkswagen EOS.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't have the you caught me there. Sometimes I don't have the rating here.
Okay.
But
I like that low theft risk.
Yeah, exactly.
That looks great. All right.
Overall low insurance, you can show by coverage here.
Okay.
And yeah, and then once you select your convertible, you have what colors are more popular here.
Okay.
So convertible, the red gets a little more popular for convertibles, but as age progress as well, gray and beige also oftentimes get more popular.
Okay. Well, that's terrific. So I know that unless I'm an Audi fan, I might want to stay away from the S5. And of course, this is a futile exercise because although I will need a car, I've got 2 children who are going to be driving soon, and they're not going to be going within a country mile of a convertible. But maybe in 10 years, we'll take another look at this. If you can, go ahead and stop sharing. Sure. And then I'm going to share my screen. One of the things that I hope people understand and appreciate is that you've done all of this work, but you have made it available to anyone else who wants to, as it were, get underneath the hood and see how it was built. And this is your repo, yes, the Consumer Vehicle Toolkit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, terrific. This is what I thought. So this website is the CAS organizational GitHub account. We have a number of projects here, repos to use Git parlance. So all of the code that was used to build this app, to clean the data, to do the modeling, may all be found here. And if people want to modify the code and contribute, they can do so via a pull request or opening an issue. So I hope that people will see this and get excited about it, and decide that they want to expand the work or tweak it so that this app will have a life that will evolve over time. I thank you very much for doing this, for making this available. This is part of the open source idea, the idea that there's something democratic about development of code, and what we want is to have the best software available for public good. So by all means, folks, hop out there and look at it. In terms of licensure, this is the Mozilla Public 2 license. I'll spare everyone the legalese, but that should make your employers happy and the open source contributors happy. And that's all that I will say about that. So I'm going to stop sharing now. We've just got one final question, unless you want to add anything else about the experience. This is one that I'd love to ask. Jobs or was?
I'd say was.
Okay.
But I did struggle first because I'm a big Android fan.
Okay.
So because it's open source, it allows deep customization, which were not possible on Apple devices. I
Okay.
mean, my only Apple device was an Apple iPhone, which I jailbreaked to get more features. So yeah, Android.
So you're hacking consumer choices in autos, you're hacking iPhones, and you're hacking actuarial science. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. Anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I mean, if it can spark other actuaries to innovate and learn more, go for it.
All right. Well, we're on the same page there. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for creating this really interesting app.
Thank you.